In this video, we are going to continue working with our actor autocomplete component. What we are going to do is that we are going to work with the list of actors that the user has selected. I want to display the picture of the actor. I also want to display a text box here so that we can enter the name of the character of the actor in the movie, and also an icon to be able to remove the selected actor. So let's work on that. Let's come here to Visual Studio Code, and what we are going to do is that first we are going to import a new module here in Material module. So we're going to say from Angular/material/table, we're going to use an Angular table for this. So let me say module, mat table module. I'll copy this and I'll put a comma here and I'll paste this here and I'll save, and then let's come here and I will delete this and I will use the table. First, let's say table and I will say mat table, and now this table is a material table. I will say ng if, because I only want to display it if there are selected actors. So I will say selected actors, length is greater than 0, and I will say data source, and the data source of course is going to be the selected actors. Now, when we work with material tables, every column is going to be an ng container. So let me say here ng container, and I will give a name to this column. I'll say mat column definition, and I'll say image, because this will be the column that will contain the picture of the person. So let me say picture, which is closer to how we call the photo of the actor, and then let's say td. And in here, we're going to display our image. But first, we have to say mat cell and mat cell definition. And we're going to say let element. This element represents the data in the row. In our case, it is one actor. And therefore, I can say something like image style with 50 pixels and src. I can say element picture. And then I can close this. And with this, we will have the picture of the actor. Now let's work on the other columns. We're going to say ng container, mat column definition. This will be the name of the actor. I will say td, mat cell definition, let element. And here I just have to say element name for the name of the actor. Now, as I told you before, I want to have the character of the actor, so I will create another column for that. I will say mat column definition. I will say character. Let me say td mat cell definition, let element. And here I want to have a mat form field, because here the user will be able to enter the character name. So I will say appearance, outline, style, margin top, 10 pixels. I will say mat label, character, and I will have an input here, mat input, and I will use two-way binding here, ng model, and I will say element character, and I will close this. And finally, we will have an icon that will allow me to remove the element, to remove the selected actor. So I will say mat column definition. I like to call these actions, and I will say td mat cell definition, let element. And here I will say mat icon. I will say close, because it will be an X. I will say mat list icon, and click. I will say remove, and I will pass the element which represents the actor. Let me copy this and put it here in the class, and in just a moment we will be able to see what we have. This should be actor here. Now, in order to be able to display the columns of the mat table, the ng containers, we need to indicate the list of those columns here. I need to say columns to display, and in our case it is going to be all of them. So I will say picture, name, character and actions, and this picture name, character and actions corresponds to the names that we gave to our ng containers: picture, name, character, and actions. The final step is to come here and to use those columns to display. I will say tr, and I will say math row definition, let row columns to display. And that's it. Now we can save and we can come to Google Chrome and let's see what we have. Let's say Tom Hanks, and here we have Tom Hanks. I can introduce his character. I'll just say Peter. Let's say Samuel L. Jackson. And as you can see, nothing happens. Why is that? It is because we need to refresh our math table in order to make it display new elements. So what we have to do is to come here and we need to first grab a reference of this math table. So for that we can use a viewChild. So let's come here and I will say viewChild, and since this is the only math table, I can just say math table, and that should be enough. I will say table, math table, any, and that's it. With this I can take this, and when an option is selected, I can say if this table is different than undefined. If it isn't undefined, then we're going to say this table dot render rows. With this we are refreshing, we are telling the math table to refresh and to display new values. So let's save and let's see that. Let's see that I can select once again Tom Hanks, and I can do the same for Samuel. And as you can see, we have both of them, and I can write a character for each of them, like Nick, though there is some CSS that we could use to make this look better. So let's go back to Visual Studio Code. Let me go to the CSS file of our component. I will say table, let's say width 100% and margin bottom 1 rem, and math icon, I want to do a cursor pointer here. So let me save and let's see that now. If I come here and I select this, we can see that we have some more space and we have the same length here. And of course, the math icon has a cursor indicating that we can click on here. I'm talking about clicking on here. Let me work on the remove function that we created. So let's come here. This remove function should allow me to remove a selected actor. So I will say const index, because first I want to have the index of the actor. I will say this selected actors, find index, and I want to say a name equal to actor name, this selected actors splice index 1 to eliminate that element of the selected actors array, and I will say this table render rows, and that should be it. Let's save, let's come back here, and let's see that I can select a few actors like Tom and Samuel, and if I want I can delete Tom and also delete Samuel. Now the next step that I want us to do is to have the ability to drag our actors. For example, if Samuel is a character in our movie and Tom too, but Tom is the protagonist, then I want to be able to drag Tom Holland to the top so that he appears first. We will see that next.